Did you see the play by PCA? Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy, and this is Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please support the show and be a part of the Locked On Cubs community by following and subscribing on all audio platforms. And you can watch, subscribe, and leave a comment on YouTube. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's Wednesday episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. And we start the 2023 MLB season in 22 days. We are going to follow up our lineup discussion from Tuesday's episode. Please check that out when you get a chance if you haven't yet. And we're going to do that by discussing the lack of a power surge from this baseball club the last couple of seasons. Sam, the Cubs finished 2022 17th in MLB in home runs, 12 homers shy of the next team. Wisdom led the club with 25. Happ has the second most for a returning player with 17. And Chris Morel, as I forgot until I looked this up earlier today, finished with the third most of a returning player with 16. In general, what has been the issue with hitting the ball out of the ballpark?
First of all, I just want to say, excuse me if I'm a little giddy today because PCA looked like Willie Mays in the 51 World Series this afternoon. So I just, man, you want to talk about a kid that has the it factor, but that's a different subject for a different time. Yeah, the team has no pop. They're going to have to get some production from guys maybe you didn't expect. Wisdom will have to hit a lot of home runs. I think Swanson will give them a little bit of a jolt, but they also lose Contreras. And look, we want them and expect them to play a lot of small ball and manufacture runs, but that's harder to do at Wrigley Field, especially in the summertime. The ball is going to fly out of the park. They're going to need guys to have higher end power years. So, for example, if Suzuki wasn't hurt, that changes things. But Suzuki, Bellinger, Happ, Wisdom, Swanson all have to be over 20 homers, guys, so they could kind of do it by committee, and that will be enough. And we'll go from there and discuss maybe some other guys. But those core guys have to hit the ball in the park. Like Happ has to hit more than 21. I expect mid-20s from Swanson. Suzuki should homer when he comes back. And hopefully Bellinger, I mean, there's no reason if he's playing every day, no matter what he hits, that he doesn't stumble upon 20, 25 of them.
Yeah, no, I think 20 is a great number. I think it's very fair, actually, that would be an over-under-ish number for the names that you mentioned, in addition to maybe a surprise name in there. The Cubs, after Tuesday's spring training action, were third to last in baseball with 7 home runs. Edwin Rios has 2. Luis Torrens has 2. He hit
2 today.
Both on Tuesday. David Bodie, Nelson Velasquez, and Trey Mancini also have each hit 1 home
and
run.
No, we're not going to do a Torrens episode like we do with Bodie. Not every time somebody has a big day, we're going to talk about it.
I don't even know who that is.
It has to affect the big league roster, folks.
Yeah, he doesn't have the history with the Northsiders like Bodie does.
Right.
What have you seen from Edwin Rios? Because I'm starting to think he's an option not only to make the roster, but make some starts.
Do you follow me on Twitter?
Yes, I do. I was probably one of the first people to follow you.
Okay, yeah, because I did mention that today.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Rios
Uh-huh.
Rios has to have consideration to be on this team
All right.
because he has probably he reminds me a
At
lot of
Sam Olber.
he reminds me a lot of the lefty version of Wisdom. Really.
That's what I thought when they signed him.
And he's got pure power. And when you look at it, let's just hypothetically put him in the opening day lineup, right?
Hypothetically, right.
I think, and I know you're not going to love this, but I think it makes a lot of sense with Madrigal in it because now you're starting to talk about balance, right? You got two guys that you feel great about putting the ball in play in Madrigal and Horner. And then you got you got a nothing but power guy, Rios. He may go over 4 with 4 Ks, but if he stumbles upon one, he might hit it over the scoreboard down Kenmore Ave, hitting a bike rider. and then what playing Rios enables you to do is you could DH him,
yes,
play Madrigal at third, and then bump Mancini over to right, and all of a sudden that lineup looks a little bit more dangerous, or peligroso in Spanish. That was off the cuff. That was a good one. Thank you. Well, I think that's how you say it in Spanish. I'm not sure.
I'm not against Mike Talkman, but
I am.
I'm warmer to Rios.
Yeah, no, I'm against him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, nothing personal, but
no, I'm just kidding. What do I know?
Yeah, no, and I think Rios is probably a DH only as a starter. I know he's played third and first in the past, but I don't really see him at the hot corner. And yeah, so Rios would be the DH. He would bat, somewhere in that lower third, potentially. Mancini and right. And again, that's not, and Madrigal at third. And that's not the everyday group.
No.
Maybe you have a combo or Wisdom and Rios both play.
Sure,
probably,
absolutely.
It would probably be the one that's a little less frequent. But I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to see maybe a combo where Hosmer sits. I mean, does that dude need to play every day? Mancini at first, Rios DH.
Yeah.
We know
Talkman,
whatever. So there's different combinations. I hope David Ross, have some fun with these.
Right.
Actually try some things and be serious about winning a baseball game in April.
And Joe Madden used to always do a good job of this. And he would say stuff like, hey, so-and-so is having success because he's not playing every day. And I'm playing him.
He was big on that, yeah.
And I'm playing him in matchups where he's going to be successful. Use Rios against righties and soft tossing righties and bump Wisdom up in the lineup and hit him 4th or 5th against the lefty because he can hit for power against lefties,
Sure.
There isn't going to be an everyday lineup. I get that. And you want to use it. I just think Rios, I think the point of this conversation is the Cubs are lacking power. That's why we were high on the Franmil Reyes lottery ticket last year.
Yeah.
And Edwin Rios is a similar guy. And listen, sometimes in baseball, you look at individual numbers, right? And you look at each team and you go, man, how is this team good? This guy's hitting 215. This guy's hitting 235 because it's about the collective. And you want to balance it out. And with Horner and Madrigal and Happ and Suzuki, you got some guys that can hit and get on base. Hosmer has a good hit tool. And then you got, the Mancinis of the world and the Bellingers of the world that are all or nothing power. And you add another guy like Rios in, and all of a sudden, it's not the 27 Yankees, by goodness gracious, but it's balanced. And there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. There's a lot of ways to beat you. And that's more exciting for me. Rios could hit 2 home runs on the Sheffield, or Madrigal and Horner could combine in back-to-back hit runs and produce runs, right?
Right. That's baseball.
And balance is important, especially in today's age.
Yeah, and I do think Rios can inject some power.
Man, does he? And by the way, just to close, he has a lot of it. That home run that he hit today. It's a long swing. You could tell why he has some batting average / contact issues, But
Right.
goodness gracious, I mean, he didn't even get a hold of it, and it was halfway up the grandstand in center
Oh
field.
boy. Center
Yeah.
field. Wow.
And then the one he hit in San Diego at that, quasi copy Petco park that they try. I mean, that
Yeah.
ball, that ball almost took down a vendor.
So other action from Tuesday, Pete Crow Armstrong, X equals PCA with a
Oh,
highlight reel catch, running down a fly ball to his left.
oh,
Okay, so folks, that's the backhand. He's a left-handed thrower. Just a great play that excites you as a baseball human, right?
what a catch. He is, as Lindsey Crosby retweeted me today and said, 80 grade defense, no
80
doubt
grade.
about. I mean, this guy, let me tell you this, if he were to start March 30th, he wouldn't hit at all, and he'd still flirt with being a 3-WAR player because he
Wow.
is as good as any defensive center fielder we have ever had, folks. Ever. Jimmy Edmonds, ever. All these guys. He is spectacular.
He can run. He can go get it.
He will make Dexter Fowler look like Hap in center field, okay?
Well, he's better than anybody. Yeah.
Oh, he's defensively, I'm speaking only.
Right.
What a talent.
Yeah, no, it's exciting.
Underrated
exciting.
prospect. He should be a top 10 guy.
Again, pitching was the takeaway from Tuesday's contest. There was a low light, and then there was a few highlights. Adrian Sampson struggled, allowing 6 runs on 4 hits in 2 2/3. And then Alzolay, K, Stout, Sanders combined
Cam
for
Sanders.
6 1/3. Shutout. Adrian Sampson, I'm close for an episode where I eliminate him from the race.
Well, and people tweeted at me and said, "Hey, Sam, why are you giving the benefit of the doubt to Smiley? Maybe Sampson's just working on stuff." And the answer is Sampson isn't a shoo-in for the roster.
That's a great answer.
Before spring training, David Ross even said it's a competition, and the 2 main guys are Sampson and Wisniewski. So
they were name dropped.
With all due respect, and I like Adrian Sampson.
He was our pitcher of the year.
Yeah, he is not established enough to say, "Hey, I'm taking the spring off, just going to work on stuff and give up 3 home runs every 2 innings." No, he's trying to win this job. He's struggling, and he has now given up 6 home runs in what is it, like 4 innings?
Yeah.
That is a red flag. I know it's early on in the spring, but I'll say it. I think Wisniewski's going to have the lead here pretty soon because it's one thing. It's like, oh, his command's not right. He's just giving up bombs. That's not good.
That's bad.
And think about what a bad look it would be for Ross if it's like he struggles in the spring and then gives up like 6 homers his first 2 starts, and then they make the move. Like
that's a joke.
Yeah, I know you don't like to rush guys and all this stuff. I think we're almost there, guys. We're almost there.
I think it might be the next turn in the rotation. We're there.
In Cincy, it would be Wisniewski's first start. Is that right? I think they play Cincinnati after Milwaukee.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think you're getting in, which is a disaster of a place to make a season debut, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
I think if you were to tell me right now, I've switched the odds. I would say going into the spring, I'd say it was probably 75% Sampson, 25 Wisniewski, or something along those lines. I'd say it's about 55-45 now, leaning towards Wisniewski.
Yeah, Sam. I mean, they're in competition mode, and if that's how he is competing for that job, that's highly discouraging. And the only reason why that job is open in the first place is because Kyle Hendricks,
what a segue,
is out, and he's throwing off a mound now, and we're going to update you on all of that coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the #1 sportsbook in America. That's why we're so excited to have FanDuel as a partner here at the Locked On Podcast Network, and new customers can join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. all in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Locked On Cubs.
And speaking of FanDuel, I'm expecting a big weekend in Chicago for the Illini.
Okay, yeah, Big Ten tournament
no,
returns to
they
Chicago.
better win a couple basketball games.
Well, that's the sport they're playing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, I am a little sullied about the Big Ten tourney this week after Iowa dropped another contest in Nebraska last weekend.
Right. Well, there's
All
nothing
right.
more to do than Nebraska than watch contests.
Kyle Hendricks threw a 25-pitch bullpen on Monday. The plan is for Hendricks to throw 9 more of those, so 10 total bullpens before going live against hitters. Then he will join extended spring training there at Sloan, and then a rehab assignment. So possibly early to mid-May for him. Nice to see that he is throwing, the professor, returning to the classroom perhaps, even at his older age. It's nice to see. And they have a big runway for him to get through, which I think is thoughtful. And quite frankly, they're able to do that because with the depth the Cubs have, there's absolutely zero rush for him to return. I mean, zero. And if he pitches well during this runway, great. Good problem to have. Plus, when May 1st rolls around, probably inevitable that someone takes his spot on the IL, someone gets a breather even,
right?
Something like that. So I think it's good that Hendricks is throwing. My expectation for him is still on the low side. But even only a couple weeks ago, we were kind of playing the read between the lines game. It didn't sound good. It sounds a lot better now. 25 pitches off the mound is a huge step. That's no easy task after a major injury. And I'm definitely going to keep tabs on his progress, despite it, being a longer leash this time.
I have nothing more to add.
Okay.
No, you covered it. You covered that beautifully.
Thank you so much.
The Cubs have a lot of pitching depth, as previously.
The class is in session.
Yeah. As previously discussed on this show, there's no rush. If he becomes an asset to the team, great. If he doesn't, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I never give up on Kyle Hendricks, one of my all-time favorite Cubs. Would love to see him back and go from there. I'm hoping you see Suzuki before him.
Yeah, that would be. I wonder if their timeline.
And that's going to be a question for Megan Montemurro, by the way.
Yeah, I wonder if their returns will be close to each other or not. That's going to be interesting. And I wonder if on nights days the Cubs have a night game, will Marquee Sports Network show Kyle Hendricks and Seiya Suzuki in those extended spring training games? Wow. The cameras are already there.
Only you would wonder something like that.
The cameras are already there, folks.
Yeah, no, that's
except
exciting.
The DVR.
Right.
All right. Coming up next,
getting kind of hungry.
We're gonna preview the tournament that Suzuki's not going to be in due to his injury, and that's the World Baseball Classic. Real baseball, and we're going to talk about it coming up next. Welcome back to Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We're in your ears right now. Maybe you got the over-the-ear headphones. Maybe you got the AirPods. Maybe you got some other inner ear variety that you're listening to. That's Apple, that's Spotify, that's Amazon Music without the ads if you want.
Sure.
And other places that you could get our podcast. So,
and maybe you have your plugs in because you don't like to hear me talk.
World Baseball Classic games begin actually overnight, Tuesday into Wednesday morning.
And I'll be watching those.
Wow. And that doesn't surprise me at all.
You kidding?
And everyone plays their first game by Saturday night, including the United States, as the red, white, and blue open up against Great Britain at 9 p.m. Central Standard Saturday on Fox. So you're going to be watching these games. What's appetizing about the WBC?
Real baseball that matters. I'll be watching Cuba versus the Dutch tonight. Holland, the Dutch, the Netherlands. They go by 3 different names.
Right.
I like to call them the Dutch. We had a very competitive game with them in the World Cup quarters. They got a good middle infield. They got a lot of guys, Bogarts, Gregorius, these guys. No, I'm excited. A couple White Sox will be making their debut tonight for Cuba. Yohan Moncada and Luis
Wow.
Robert.
Okay.
Yeah, I just love baseball. It's my favorite sport. And people are going to be playing it that are really good at it, and it's going to matter. So that's enough to get me to stay up till 1 a.m. to watch baseball. You could go ahead and speak to your show.
I think I know the answer to this, but so Pool C is U.S., Mexico, Colombia, Canada, and Great Britain. I'm wondering either what's the next best pool or what pool most intrigues you.
Which pool's Israel in?
So they're in a stacked pool.
Yeah, no, they're going to get annihilated. But I still would like
Puerto
to hear
Rico, Venezuela, Dominican Republic.
Yeah, that pool. I'd like to see Mervis lead my country. No, I don't know. Look, I hope the United States and Dominican Republic go really far because they have the 2 best teams.
And Pool B, Japan, Korea, Australia, China, and the Czech Republic. That could be interesting as well. Cubs to watch in the WBC for me.
Oh, and Ohtani. I want to see Ohtani do well.
Yeah, of course, Stroman and Velasquez for PR. Javier Assad for Mexico. Mervis for Israel. And Owen Casey for Canada. Team Canada lines up in an exhibition on Wednesday against the Cubs. Justin Steele will take the ball against Team Canada in spring training action.
Will Casey be playing for Canada in that game?
I believe so.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, so I wonder if he's going to be a starter for them. I would guess he would be, but we'll find out.
I'll tell you this, a very obvious storyline that I'll just mention. This is the first time Ohtani's played on an actual big stage where everybody's watching and it matters. Watch out.
Okay.
I mean, he had 2 3-run homers last night in an exhibition.
And one was on a swing. He dropped to his knee.
No, I'm telling you, how fun would that be if he just takes this thing over?
Be awesome.
That would be great for the sport. It really would be. It really would be.
It would.
So I'm excited. I mean, you got the think about it this weekend. You got Cubbies are still playing in spring training. You got the WBC. You got the Big Ten tournament. You got Selection Sunday coming up. Feed me more. Sarah, get the tilapia going. I'm getting hungry. It's going to be a big weekend.
Be sure to subscribe to Locked On Cubs on
Sarah,
YouTube.
I'm talking to myself, by the way.
And smash the like button on all your favorite Locked On Cubs
version.
content, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can drop us a text, 312-834-4634. Also, Kevin in Colorado left us a voicemail overnight last night. We might try to play that on the show this week.
Was it Kevin Gregg?
If you want to leave us a voicemail, again, that's 312-834-4634. It rings a lot, but be patient. Eventually, you hear my voice. Then you could leave your message.
Or hang up.
Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Now make your second. Don't hang up.
No, I'm joking, folks. I'm joking.
Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Sam, you could win your league by listening to Matt and Dom, who will be on this program at some point this month, as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Locked On Fantasy Baseball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.